All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking the code on what might be the most predictable and honestly, the most beatable part of the digital SAT, punctuation. If you think this is all about fussy grammar rules, you're about to learn how to play the real game.
So, let me ask you this. You're staring at an SAT question, you've narrowed it down to two choices, and you're stuck. What's your go-to move? If you're like most people, you probably mumble both options to yourself and pick the one that just sounds better. It feels right, doesn't it? But on this test, is that feeling your friend?
The answer is a huge, flashing, definite no. Seriously, if you only remember one thing from our time together today, make it this. On the SAT, your ear is your enemy. Relying on what sounds right is the number one fastest way to walk directly into a trap. Okay, so if you can't trust your ear, what can you trust? You trust the rules. You have to think about punctuation like a set of tools. Every single comma, semicolon, and dash has a very specific mechanical job to do. Your goal isn't to be a creative writer here, it's to be a mechanic who knows exactly which wrench to grab for the job at hand. So, let's open up that toolkit, shall we? We are going to master the core pieces of punctuation you will see on this test. And we're going to start with the one that causes the absolute most trouble. The comma. It's everywhere. And it is the most misused piece of punctuation on the planet. But on the SAT, it really only has three main jobs. That's it, just three. Separating items in a list, sectioning off extra non-essential information, and, this is a big one, joining two complete sentences, but only if it has a little buddy with it, like and, but, or so. And this slide right here lays out the battle lines perfectly. On the left, you've got the legal moves. On the right, all the traps. Now, the biggest trap of all is the comma splice. That's when a lonely little comma tries to join two complete sentences all by itself. It can't do it. The SAT loves this trap. Also, just remember this. If you see a comma that's awkwardly splitting a subject from its verb, or it just breaks a complete thought right in half, it's wrong. Get rid of it. Next up in our toolkit, the semicolon. And I'm going to give you the easiest way to master it, right here on the screen. Just think of them as fancy periods. That's it. I'm serious. They have one super specific, very powerful job. And here's that job. It is simple and totally non-negotiable. A semicolon connects two complete, independent sentences. Both sides have to be able to stand on their own as a full sentence. And that makes the trap incredibly easy to spot. If you read the words on one side of that semicolon and it's not a full sentence, that answer choice is illegal. It's an instant elimination. Done. And this example just makes it so clear. Look at the wrong example. The phrase leading researchers to revise their theory. That's not a sentence, right? It's an incomplete fragment. But over in the correct example, the researchers revise their theory is a complete sentence. Both sides are balanced, independent thoughts. Now the semicolon can do its job. Okay, next tool, the colon. From now on, when you see a colon, I want your brain to just go into explanation mode. A colon is basically a big signpost that says, hey, what comes next is going to be a list or an example or a clarification of what I just said. And here it is, the golden rule. The one law of the colon you can never, ever forget. The words before the colon must form a complete sentence. Let me say that again. The part before the colon has to be able to stand all by itself. This is the SAT's absolute favorite way to trick you with colons. They'll put an incomplete thought before it. Don't you fall for it. This makes it crystal clear. Look at the wrong one. The experiment revealed. Revealed what? It just leaves you hanging. That's not a complete thought. But look at the correct version. The experiment revealed one issue is a full, complete sentence. Now the colon is legally allowed to step in and introduce the explanation of what that issue was. All right, let's talk about dashes. They feel a little more dramatic, a bit more stylish. They're used to add emphasis or to set aside some extra info. But don't let their flair fool you. On the SAT, they follow very strict rules, just like everything else. Here's the absolute key. On the SAT, dashes almost always work in pairs. Think of them like parentheses, but with a little more punch. They're used to set off extra non-essential info. So if you can remove the information between the two dashes and the sentence still makes perfect sense, you're probably in good shape. And that is why a single, lonely dash hanging out in the middle of a sentence is a huge red flag. It is almost always wrong. Okay, so you've got the core tools mastered. Now let's get into some fine-tuning. These are the little details that can separate a good score from a great one. And they're all about spotting these common, really predictable traps. This right here might be the single most common trap on the entire exam. It's versus its. The rule could not be simpler. It's with an apostrophe is always short for it is. The word its with no apostrophe shows ownership, just like his or her. You have got to lock this distinction into your brain. And the apostrophe traps don't stop there. The SAT will absolutely try to confuse you with plural possession. But again, the rule is simple. For one single thing owning something, it's apostrophe S like the company's policy. For multiple things that already end in S, the apostrophe just goes at the very end, like the company's policies. Just stay sharp and don't confuse a simple plural word with one that's showing ownership. Now for a concept that's a little bigger than just one punctuation mark. Parallel structure. This is really a rule of rhythm and consistency. All it means is that when you have a list of items or ideas in a sentence, they all need to have the same grammatical format. This visual is perfect. The sentence on the left is like a derailed train. We've got two nouns, accuracy and efficiency, but then the list suddenly jumps the tracks to a totally different kind of phrase to reduce costs. It's clunky. The correct version gets the train back on those parallel tracks by making all three items nouns: accuracy, efficiency, and cost reduction. See? Now the rhythm is consistent and clean. All right, you've got the tools. You've got the fine-tuning skills. Now it's time to put it all together with one final pro-level strategy that's going to let you just slice through these questions with total confidence. This is what I call the punctuation elimination trick, and you should use it every single time. The only difference between the answer choices is the punctuation. Step 1. Look at the punctuation mark and ask yourself, what is its job? Is it supposed to be connecting things or separating things? Step 2. Look at the chunks of words on either side of it. Are they complete sentences or are they fragments? Once you know the job and the structure, you can apply the right rule and just eliminate everything that doesn't fit. And this all brings us right back to our main theme. You don't need to guess. You don't need to worry about what sounds good. You have a logical system of rules. Just apply the rules and you will find the right answer. On the SAT, rules decide, not vibes. And that brings us to maybe the most important takeaway from this entire explainer. Mastering these rules isn't about trying to sound fancy or academic. It's not about being a grammar nerd just for the sake of it. It's about thinking clean. It's about seeing the logical structure that lives underneath the words. And when you can do that, you don't just win points on the SAT. You become a clearer, more precise, more logical thinker. And that is the real prize.